is up, RotoGrinders? We're back. The back half of the NBA season. It starts off with a big boy slate, not messing around, not a lot of time for pleasantries. 2 hours of nonstop NBA DFS conversation. It starts now, taking you all the way up the lock. Crunch time comes in around 6:20 or so. You get Kevin Roth, you get Will, the Chief, as well as Squirrel. Squirrel's coming in also with me. You got Chopper, Head Chopper. Chop, welcome to the show. We got basketball. Welcome back. How did you enjoy your break? Any interesting anecdotes we want to share with the people, Chop?
Hello. Is this thing working today?
Mic check. Yeah, you're good.
Mic check. Anecdotes? No. I did take the time and use the time to go catch a nice basketball game down in Houston at the Fertitta Center, my University of Houston Cougars. We took on Texas on last Saturday, so I made it down there and got to see some guys. Oh man, star-studded event, Dean. It was quite the trip, man.
Who were the stars outside of yourself, of course?
Well, let's see. For the Saturday game, a noon tip-off. Let's see. There was C.J. Stroud and Tank Dell were in the front row, and Akeem Olajuwon and Kendrick Perkins were there. We had some NBA players: Quentin Grimes, Marcus Sasser, Jarris Walker. We were in attendance doing a little stuff. Yeah, it was a good time, man.
Were you on the floor as well, Chop? Were you up there in the nosebleeds, or were you sitting?
I wasn't on the floor. I was a couple of rows. I was in a couple of rows back, but I was in really. I was. There's not a bad seat in that place. It's small anyway, but it's so small to get courtside. There's just no way. Like, it's really tough to get courtside seats when those guys want those seats, and they're trying to jam in those guys.
They're going to outbid you.
Yeah. Well, it's not even outbid. It's about who has control of the tickets and what are they going to do with them. Do they really need the money? No. So they're either going to go to the game, those big donors, or they're going to give the tickets away to Stroud and Tank Dell and Andre Ware was there, a former Heisman Trophy winner.
Wow.
They're going to give all those away to those guys. So it's tough to get those court sides, but I got close enough to where, I got a good taste of the action.
Mr. Irrelevant in chat wants to know if Paul Wall hooked you up, right? Is he still one of your guys? He's still one of your boys?
Yes, but he's he's definitely a Houston guy. He'll definitely get behind the Cougars, but he's a big time Astros guy. So, if I need to go to Minute Maid, that's when I call Paul Wall.
35 days, give or take. Yeah. Baseball right around the corner. Going to bring in TJ. TJ's Words. You guys know TJ, one of the greatest DFS players in all of Saskatoon, Saskatchewan, Canada. Myself and TJ, we're dabbling in the streets. The golf streets, the hockey streets, the MMA streets. I know you've been doing well with MMA. I know you've been doing well with hockey. You asked me pre-show if I'm playing hockey. Not playing hockey tonight, but did have some success during the break. Do want to shout out the Discord, by the way. All the Discord channels are good, but the hockey Discord channel is spectacular, especially for late dropping news. If you were playing last night, you would have known. There was a late swap as far as goalies for Boston. I think one of the goalies ended up being like 20 or 25% owned. The guy did not end up playing in the late game, but RotoGrinders.com/Discord, jump in the NHL. That's a great place to be. I know TJ's in there as well, but we have basketball back as well, TJ, but we've been doing just fine with the fringe stuff, right?
Yeah, I haven't actually dove too much into golf yet. I used to play golf quite a bit, and I haven't recently, but took down another MMA tournament over the weekend. My single entry team ended up taking it down, and so and then NHL been going great as per usual. But ready to get NBA back. Very excited to get MLB back, and looking forward to keeping the hot streak going.
Yeah, NBA did cut off the last two games, not the NBA, DraftKings and FanDuel. No Lakers, no Warriors. That'll be a pretty fun game. Of course, LeBron's not playing, but for our purposes, we don't really care. We don't have to worry about Domantas Sabonis if he's going to play or not, just for the two game if you're dabbling in those streets, because he was upgraded to questionable. These players have had a week off, so most situations as far as health, as far as body parts, are pretty clear. The only ones you really don't have is some guys that are ill. Several coming back from the All-Star game, but Beccaro is questionable with an illness. Mitchell's questionable with an illness. And Brandon Ingram as well is questionable with an illness. But TJ, it's a huge slate and not a lot of injury stuff. Of course, it's the association and things can happen, but like these teams have had a week to rest up, and we pretty much know who's in or who's out. Famous last words, but yeah, that's kind of the way things stand right now. And like running some optimal stuff, there's some weird lineups I'm seeing. I'm open. I want to have the conversation as far as the slate. I don't have like a direct, clear path, and I'm curious where you're at. Do you feel sort of locked in, or are you kind of gonna feel it out as the show progresses? How do you feel about tonight's 10 gamer?
I feel locked in already, if I'm being honest. Like things might change with injuries, but I got 20 lineups planned, and they're locked and loaded and ready to go.
You want to give me an overview?
Where it's so hard to know where to start on a gigantic slate like this. You know what I mean? Like usually it's easy to be like, these two games are the ones I'm kind of honing in on. And I think there still are that to an extent. Indy, Detroit, Charlotte, Utah are probably my two favorite ones that I'm going in on the most. There's a couple like Boston and Chicago that I feel like I can almost just X out completely. Same with Orlando and Cleveland outside of a couple guys. So it's a big slate and I'm looking to cut it down a little bit. But the biggest difference for me today is I actually have two salary saving plays on DraftKings today that are both projected for less than 5% ownership that I'm actually planning on playing a ton. And they're pretty gross, but I've kind of felt like we haven't had these mid to low 3K guys that you can just take a shot on at low ownership recently. And I feel like they're there today. So I'm looking forward to taking some shots.
Bo, I'm going to guess what one is. And the reason why I didn't really give the overview is because I don't think there's a clear and obvious starting point. Like you were talking about how it's kind of a tricky overview. I don't think there's a clear and obvious starting point on this slate. Again, but we'll kind of figure it out as we go. I'm going to guess, TJ, that one of your like under 4K cheapies that are worth I think Jonathan Isaac is kind of interesting. The problem with him is that he can become like popular if we lose Bencaro, but he's one of the sneaky ones for me. Is he one of the two or no? Not so much.
Isaac, I think, is fine, but he is not actually one of the two today that I'm gonna look to get a fairly big extent of.
All right, Chop, you want to tell me your thoughts as far as this 10 gamer? Anything you want to point out before we go game by game? Anything that's worthwhile? Do you have an overview? Do you have a clear and obvious spot as far as your starting point when it comes to tonight's 10-game slate?
No.
Dynamite drop in, Chop. As always, do appreciate the. Is that anything else you want to say about that, or we're gonna fully dive in? We're diving in, right? Let's do it. Okay,
let's do it.
I just want to say that like a ton of these teams are in the front half of a back-to-back. I think it's 11. I want to say 11 of these teams are on the front half of a back-to-back out of 20. I saw the count was like 13 or 14, but I think three of those teams are playing in the games we don't really care about. As far as the way teams are playing or the times teams are playing, there's a bunch of games going on at 7 o'clock. I think it's 4 7 o'clock games. I think it's like 4 8 o'clock games as well. 3 8 o'clock games. So, yeah, big chunk. And, again, the slate does end at 9 o'clock. The first 7 o'clock game we're going to talk about, let's talk about the Nets. The Nets taking on the Raptors. TJ's Raptors, 231.5 is the total. It's fairly high, and it is tight, right? Brooklyn is just a 1.5-point dog here. They did fire their coach. Ollie's taking over there for Brooklyn. Toronto, fully healthy team. We're going to see a lot of that, too. Like a lot of teams that are pretty healthy. Again, I think it's a week off for pretty much all these players. Brooklyn also fully healthy. So, TJ, we have fully healthy Brooklyn, fully healthy Toronto, taking on your Raptors. It's a 10-game slate. Is this an eventful game for you?
Weirdly enough, it is. And mostly I'm interested in the guys who actually aren't picking up the ownership. Gary Trent Jr. at 15%, Jakob Poeltl at 11%. Not really liking those guys. I do like Scotty Barnes. I think he's still underpriced for this new role that he's in. Barrett and Quickly I still like as well. I think they should both be at the 7,500 range, not below 7K. And believe it or not, Dean, one of the guys I'm taking GPP shots tonight is a cheapie from this game. It's Grady Dick. They've got rid of Schroeder. They want to start playing him more and more minutes. And he has shown upside. It's not just like he's going to go out there every time and do nothing. If his threes are on, he's going to have a good day. He's put up multiple 30-point fantasy games here recently as he's logging more minutes. He's logged at least 21 minutes in 3 straight games, and I think they're going to be playing him more and more as this season progresses because they're done trying to compete. They're out there now playing their young guys. And so I think Dick is going to be secured into a 20-minute role each and every game for the rest of the year now, and so I'm looking forward to playing some Grady Dick before the price and the field catch up.
All right, Chop, jumping here. Nobody getting more than 16% current ownership. Trent around 15, Barnes around 14. You got to pay for him. Certainly interesting. The most popular player on the Brooklyn side as of right now. Ownership projection for Brooklyn will be Cam Johnson around 4%. And then your thoughts as far as Dick, Grady Dick.
Well, unlike TJ, I'm not into Dick. I'm going to pass on that tonight. I know the Nets are not like, you said they're not trying to compete. They're trying to compete still. There's no reason for them to lose games. So I don't know how much they're going to play him. They've got skilled players in front of him. He could go off. It could happen, but they don't own their draft pick at all. It's unprotected going to Houston. So there's no reason for them to lose games here. So I think they'll play out as hard as they can. I'm actually very, very intrigued by the coaching change. Yeah, because in this case, you just don't know.
I'm talking about the Raptors, though, right? Like the Raptors do have a first-round pick. They're trying to.
Oh, okay. Oh, yeah. All right. Yeah. I'm talking about real quick though on the Nets.
Yeah,
I think the coaching change really helps them. And yeah, you're right. Dick plays for Raptors. My bad. I mixed up. but I still don't think that. I still think they made a trade for Barrett and Quickly, and they picked up Olynyk. I failed to see how they're just not going to compete, and maybe they do get Dick some more minutes. I don't know, whatever. But I'm not going that route. So, but for the Nets, I'm intrigued by the coaching change. We don't know what he's thinking. Maybe he heard the whispers on the street. Kevin Ollie, is like all the murmurs. Well, you guys need to play Cam Thomas more. You guys need to do something with Ben Simmons. I think there's going to be some kind of shakeup in minutes tonight that I think we can take advantage of. So I like Cam Thomas here. Maybe they turn him loose. I actually have a GPP spot for Ben Simmons tonight because maybe they split this thing up and decide that, put him on that second unit without Nicholas Claxton, and maybe he can go off with the backups there. Something different that's going to get these guys and shake them up a little bit. So I'm all about the Nets here and some of these guys and figuring that out. On the flip side, I do like RJ Barrett. Even when him and Quickly came over, at first it was Emmanuel Quickly. He's kind of cooled off, though. The consistency, it's been R.J. Barrett since that trade. So I like Barrett. Scotty Barnes is always fine. Quickly, I think, is okay. He's priced cheap. Pirtle's fine. He's cheap enough. You can take a shot at him. Olynyk, you can take a shot on that. I think this game has some real value, some real opportunity here to be really good.
I like the Cam Thomas call, but I also like Ben Simmons too. I think is somewhat interesting. If he just plays, say, 28 minutes today, he could put up 40+ fantasy points, and that is a very cheap price tag of $5,600 for him. I even think Schroeder going up against the Raptors at sub 5K is somewhat interesting here as well. Don't know if you really need that, but if you're playing a bunch of lineups, I think he's worth taking a shot on too. If he happens to get upper 20 minutes, we don't know how they're going to do this, like Chop said. And so he's somebody I think would maybe be worthwhile as well.
Is he capable is kind of the question, right, with Simmons. He's played no more than 24. He's had that minutes cap. Now he's rested over the break. It's a new coaching regime. I assume it was just sort of like it's because it's Ben Simmons and not so much a coaching philosophy. They can't push him too hard, but I guess it's possible he can get 26, 27, 28. I think we're projecting 24, which is the most he's played all season long, his last game. And he's been a good fantasy point minute guy, and he's always kind of flirted with that, kind of a cheap triple-double, right? He can get you close to 9, 10, 9 on a good night, that kind of thing. If he can somehow muster up a way to score 10 points in the bucket. It's an interesting dart to throw, and he's cheap enough, right, TJ?
Yeah, exactly.
5, 6 on TK.
You're not sacrificing much, and you're getting away from some other guys in that same realm that are nice and cheap, that are more picking up more ownership in that same price range. So I do think this Brooklyn Toronto game has a lot of sneaky tournament upside.
All right. Anything else that's eventful? Anything else we should point out as far as Brooklyn and Toronto, or shall we move on? We are going to move on. Orlando takes on the Cavs. 217.5 is the total. This game is a little bit dicey right now as far as clarity because we don't know about two of the main pieces in this game. We mentioned Banchero's ill. He's got he's not feeling particularly well, as is Donovan Mitchell. Have we seen his Twitter account? Has he tweeted out just yet to let him know? Because if he lets us know, that's his way of letting us know he's going to be playing. We're on Twitter watch for that one. As far as other players in this game, well, Orlando is fully healthy. Otherwise, well, Fultz is still out, but that's nothing really new. Suggs should be good to go. He had that groin before the All-Star break. Cleveland is fully healthy, with the exception of Donovan Mitchell. Of course, Tristan Thompson suspended, but that's been the case for a while. He doesn't matter anyway when they have all their bodies. The big thing as far as Cleveland is the minutes restriction for both Mobley and Garland is gone. Of course, the matchup here, not spectacular. 217.5 is the total. This is a game straight out of like 2002 or something like that. Not terribly appealing. Two good defensive units here, Chop. But I think we have some good prices. A pretty good price on Mobley. Certainly, if Mitchell doesn't go, we have an if-then setup where Mobley would spike. I believe Garland would spike as well. I think there's a good chance we see Mitchell play for what it's worth. And we'll know, 7 o'clock start time. But as things stand right now, Chop, Cleveland, Orlando, are we enthused about this game? How do we feel about it?
Yeah, so with 10 games here, I'm not trying to sugarcoat any of this stuff for you. Orlando, I don't like. Unless we get word that Banchero is out and, something opens up like that. Orlando's, I'm not touching them. On the flip side, I think the price on Mobley is fine. I like him. I think the price on Garland is even better. And I love him tonight. So Garland and Mobley on that side, and nothing for Orlando for me.
TJ?
It's exactly like you guys mentioned. If Banchero's out, this all of a sudden becomes a different story. But Banchero's in. I have no interest on these guys. Maybe Jonathan Isaac as a cheap shot in 5% of lineups, like you said earlier, Dean. But not somebody I'd want to get a lot of. If Banchero's out, it's a different story. We get guys like Wagner becomes more interesting. All their cheapies become more interesting. But I'm hoping Banchero plays and Mitchell plays, so I can X out Orlando. I can X out Cleveland, except for Mobley and Garland, who are underpriced. And that if Mitchell plays as well, those are the only two players I have interest in. It's Evan Mobley and Darius Garland, because their minutes limits are gone, whatever that word is, taken away. And so lifted. There, I couldn't think of the word lifted. And so with their minutes restrictions lifted, they're underpriced, and so I'll take shots.
Yeah, we're currently projecting 34 for Mobley, and as far as minutes for Garland, 35. So pretty full. Our if-then stuff, again, if Mitchell happens to be out, there are 4 positive values for Cleveland, especially Mobley. LeVert would pop, Garland, and Jared Allen. All 4 of those guys would look good to various degrees. And if Banchero is out, you mentioned Wagner, just to be specific, Franz Wagner would really, really pop. If you want to get squirrely, if you want to get goofy, you could play Mo Wagner, but that does not seem to be advised. He would be the only positive value, even if Banchero is out. And I think Isaac is just like large field dart if you're feeling goofy, and there's a chance he plays 20 minutes or so, and he's a pretty good fantasy point winner player. But again, I don't feel great about that. I was just trying to play the game and trying to guess where you're at as far as your cheapies. And I tried to pick up Grady Dick, by the way, in my season-long league, my big season-long league, and it's just too sharp, man. I tried picking him up like 10 days ago, and he's been gone for a while because it's a big league and it's a lot of smart people. The RG league, there you go. But okay, we can move on. 10 games as a whole. This one's not terribly appealing. There are 4 games that start at 7 o'clock. This one looks much more appealing, at least from a putting points in the bucket perspective. That's Detroit, Indiana, 246 is the total. 12-point dog here. The Pistons on the road. As far as who's in and who's out in this one, Indiana, I believe, is fully healthy with the exception of Aaron Naismith. Miles Turner, good to go. Mathurin, he's going to be crazy. He's crazy chalk right now. Jalen Smith, they keep giving him this Q tag. I assume he's fine, but we'll see. A couple of times his back is like flared up during warm-ups or in the middle of a game, and he just kind of gets that mid-game scratch. Quentin Grimes, he's not officially out. He is doubtful with a knee. And Beef Stew is out for, I think, 3 games with a suspension. Who did he try to fight? Some center. Can't remember the guy's name. But apparently there was some sort of scrapping behind the scenes. He got the boot. He's gone for 3 games. TJ, this game looks really, really appealing to me. Do we believe Monty Williams when he says he's going to play his guys? That's kind of what he said. I mean, The Tankathon is on, but I think they currently are in the 1 spot pretty comfortably. 1, 2, 3, that's all you need. So they have some wiggle room. They can accidentally win some games. It wouldn't really matter so much. Obviously, the environment here is versus Indiana, 246, pretty appealing total. It looks awesome for Indiana. I was hoping to get Halliburton like a tick cheaper because his minutes seem to be basically full, and the matchup against Detroit's awesome as well. Coming off the momentum there of the All-Star game for Tyrese Halliburton. But Detroit Pacers, I like a little game stack here. I don't know how sneaky or not sneaky that is. Jalen Duren's one of my favorite players in this game because TJ, we don't who's got a bigger variance than Jalen Duren, right? He can get those 2 fouls right away, or this seems like the kind of team where he can go out there and drop like 18 and 18. If we're trying to win tournaments, we're trying to Ricky Bobby it. Jalen Duren is your guy, and Cunningham seems a tick too cheap as well, considering the pace here versus Indiana. I'm talking too much. You tell me your thoughts as far as Detroit, Indiana. Go for it, TJ.
This is probably my favorite game stack on the slate because I think there's multiple different ways you could go about it. You can do this game stays close game stack, and you play Halliburton, who's coming in under-owned now that he's without a minutes limit. You play him with Miles Turner. You can even play Mathurin too. You can go up to 3, I think. And you can run it back with 1 to 2 of Cade Cunningham and Jalen Duren. I love that call for tournaments. I'm very interested. And then I saw one other person mention it in chat. One of my favorite salary savers today is Evan Fournier, 3.4K. It's like Grady Dick. He's dirt cheap. He's dirt cheap. If he puts up 14, 15 points, that actually doesn't kill my lineup. Who cares? Because of how cheap they are. And then you look at his last couple games since he went to Detroit. He's playing more than 20 minutes each of them, 24 and 25. And he's actually had more than 20 points. It was Mr. Richard who caught it. Shout out Mr. Richard for the call. Because he got that one right. Fournier's played 24 and 25 minutes. He's had over 20 fantasy points in both those games. If he gets a little bit more, he could have 30 plus and he could 10x. If he doesn't and gets only 16, 17, I don't really care. He's only 3,400. So this is going to allow me to get to as much, Jokic, Luka, SGA, even Kevin Durant and Booker today on this slate that I want to get to who are expensive. And guys like Fournier and Dick are going to allow me to do it. So I'm going to get to some Fournier today on the Detroit side of things. I also like Simone Fontecchio. He just goes in there and just chucks a bunch of threes. He had 15 and 19 shots in 2 of the 3 games there. So I think he's a strong value for tournaments. And then on the Indiana side of things, I like Halliburton, Mathurin, and Turner. But I also think you can look at this and go, well, it's a 12-point spread. It's a pretty damn interesting stack to go TJ McConnell, Obi Toppin, and Evan Fournier. This game blows out. All those guys play limited minutes but are strong point-per-minute producers. This game ends up blowing out. All of those guys could have 25 to 30 fantasy points, and it allows you to afford any other spend-ups across the rest of the slate.
You're confident that Fournier plays in a blowout? Like
No,
but
maybe he – I don't think he'll play the entire fourth quarter. I don't think he gets higher than 26, 27, 28 minutes regardless. But I don't think necessarily he wants to play. That's been his complaint from the last 3 places he's been to, right? Just let me go out there. And so he's played 24 and 25 minutes those last 2 games with them. I don't really see why that wouldn't continue to be a trend, especially because those were games with all their guys back and healthy. Cunningham was here and playing in them.
Chop, no Googling, never Google. How old is Evan Fournier?
Without looking up, I'm going to say 32.
TJ, higher or lower? Or
Lower.
did he bink it? You could say bink.
No, I think it's lower. I don't think he's
31.
That old.
He's 31.
Ooh.
He looks older, I think. I thought he was older too. The Pistons got to see what they have in 31-year-old Evan Fournier. I mean, you never know. They could have uncovered something amazing. It is really weird the run he's been getting, but yeah, that's been happening. And we're projecting him for 22 minutes. I think there's some fragility to it, but I think there's also a chance he plays 24, 25, I guess. What do you got here as far as Detroit, Indiana, Chop? How do you feel about the Mathurin chalk? He's currently 30% projected. I believe that's the highest number on the board. just because he's so cheap on DK at 4-5. Mostly. The matchup's good too.
One quick thing with Fournier I'll throw in there is he's still under contract for next year. So maybe it's like, hey, maybe we can get something for him if we show he can still play.
All right.
That's just complete guess. Chances are they're going to have such a low salary floor next year that they're probably going to have to keep him on the roster just to be able to hit the salary floor.
The GM that says, you know what we got to do? We got to trade for Evan Fournier. That guy should be fired immediately. In 2024. But I hear you. Chop, Detroit, what do you got?
Well, I would say that Detroit or for the whole game as an
Give me
entire
the whole game. Give me everything.
All right. For Detroit, the same similar guy. Cade Cunningham seems a bit underpriced on DraftKings at $7,600. Duran has the upside, very volatile, but that makes him a good GPP guy. I could sprinkle in Jaden Ivey, although I don't love it. I could sprinkle in some Ozzie Thompson, although I don't love it. And then for Indiana, I like Siakam. I think that's a good price tag on him. I like Miles Turner tonight. This is the kind of matchup Miles Turner usually exploits, and he's really, really cheap on DraftKings. So I do like Miles Turner. Halliburton has been priced back up appropriately now, so I'm in no rush to play him at 94. Mathurin seems to me like that's not great chalk. That's like he works out about as much as Jonathan Isaacs does as chalk. They just don't ever seem to hit. So I don't think I love that. I think he's getting that projection boost because of the Nesmith sitting out, but I'm not sure it even is going to boost him up enough to make him I don't think I'll have that much. I'll be way under the field, in fact, at that number. But Nimhart, it's a good game for a guy like Nimhart. They should blow this team out, and he should get a little bit of extra run there. So, but Siakam, Turner, Cade Cunningham, that's three guys from this game I'd really identify.
As of 5:05 on the East Coast, our last update when it comes to projections on our on DK, we have Mathurin as the third most popular player at 34% behind Keontae George, Colin Sexton, a couple Jasmine. TJ, where are you at as far as Mathurin? Are you running a bunch of lineups tonight? I assume you're MMAing, and are you going to be over or under that 34%?
I'm playing 20. My initial build, where I didn't really try and cap anybody that I had in my lineup, had Mathurin as my highest owned play. The scary thing about the good thing about him is I do think he's not necessarily somebody who would lose a ton of run in a blowout. I think he can maybe stay out there a little bit longer. But 31% on a 10-game slate does scare me a little bit. So as I get closer to walking here and rework it, I might try and get a little bit lower on that, maybe to just even on the field.
If we officially said hello to chat, what's up, chat? Hit that like button. We'd appreciate that. And if you're feeling ambitious, subscribe. Yeah, subscribe to the channel so you know when we go live. I was going to say, as you're filling out today's survey, you can hit the like button. But I don't think we've dropped a survey just yet. I don't know what the survey question is going to be. Producer Steve usually just drops one out of nowhere. We'll give him some time, but I imagine he'll be coming up with something. Let's Chop. You have a suggestion for today's survey? Anything you want to throw out for Steve to consider, or just anything that's hot button issues for you?
What about the best sport to play during NBA All-Star break? How about that? I'll throw that one out there.
So it's golf, MMA, NHL, and what's the fourth option?
You could have college basketball sprinkled in there.
You just go under for the fourth, and it could be college basketball, or it could be any other thing you like.
That's definitely was everything. All the prize pools get boosted up big time during All-Star break, so it was actually worth playing a little college basketball over the break. Yeah.
Oh, it was NASCAR weekend too. Shout out to Stevie. Stevie big 50K on FanDuel. I know one of his subscribers took down the millie, or maybe chopped the millie. I'm sure they're going to be okay. They were happy about that. So, NASCAR season's in full effect. He also picked the winner. I did have a taste of that. Byron was the guy's name, I think. Does that sound right? Byron? I don't know. I don't follow NASCAR, but I did get the winner. But, Steve will figure it out. What's your favorite? I think it's hockey for you, right, TJ? I think that's pretty clear.
Yeah, hockey is probably the most enjoyable for me. I just really like building hockey lineups. Like it's a fun little puzzle piecing together for me. But MMA, I'm at like a 50% turn, like first place GPP per for like 50% the time that I'm playing, and I know absolutely nothing about it, just strictly from Cheese and Squirrel and Liam and Mike. So I do have fun with some MMA too.
Banchero officially in for Orlando, so Orlando basically fully healthy. Batum expected to play tonight. Kyle Lowry expected to make his debut. The reunion there with Nick Nurse. He's good to go. Melton's out tonight, but expected to play tomorrow. And Jalen Smith officially available for Indiana as well. And TJ, you'll be happy to learn that George Springer, he's going to remain the leadoff hitter for Toronto, apparently, is the word on the street there. So shout out to your Blue Jays. All right. We have Tim in chat saying, what about CSGO? I know Tim does some CSGO projections. There's only 4 options, Tim. There's only 4 options in CSGO. Doesn't that take place like 4 o'clock in the morning or something like that? And so a lot of those contests are over in Asia, I believe. So, come on. Shout out to you if you're crushing those CSGO streets. I know Cheese does. You accidentally said his name, but Cheese is awesome. Is it either CSGO or LOL? I assume it's the same thing. I feel like there's a Venn diagram, but we shall move on. The last of the 7 o'clock games is, the aforementioned 76ers. 76ers taking on New York. 228 is a total. Philadelphia is a 1-point favorite. And we did just get some news there as far as Philly. Lowry, good to go. Batum is good to go. There will be some minutes restriction. You're not considering playing those guys. Embiid, obviously, the big one is still out. Melton should be back tomorrow. As far as New York, Randall's still out. Anunoby's still out. Mitrov's still out. But Hartenstein, Isaiah Hartenstein should be good to go. And DiVincenzo and his hamstring should also be good to go, as is Bojan Bogdanovic and his calf. I'll let you start this one, Chop. New York versus Philadelphia. How do we feel about this game?
Yeah, I would say, I don't have anybody in this game I've identified and highlighted that I really want to put in my lineups. Dina, for Philly, like you just said, Batum and Lowry just going to eat enough minutes to probably take down some of these other guys who have been priced up here recently with their performance for Philly. So Maxi's in the 9Ks. I'm not rushing to put that. Tobias is priced up about as high as he can go right now. Don't want that. Buddy Hyde's up to 6,700. Like a week ago, he was came over in the trade and he was like in the 4s or 5s at 4,700. So he's been priced up. I don't need any of that. And New York's similar. Like they're getting a little bit healthier. I know Randall's going to be out for a while, but some of the other guys are coming back. And all these other guys that have been there are well priced where they need to be. DiVincenzo 77, 71, 68 for Hardenstein. Jalen Brunson's 9,300. Like, I'm not rushing to put any of them in my lineup, so I haven't highlighted anybody from this game, to be honest with you.
That's pretty much where I'm at too, and that's kind of where the field's at too. Nobody getting more than 10%. Your boy Buddy Hyde is getting 8 or 9%. Hart 8 or 9%, but there's some players that are fine. If you want to throw Maxey in your GPP pool, same deal with the Brunson burner. He's got to beat a lot of big spends out there, but he certainly can. But this game to me is pretty uneventful. TJ, what do you got?
Yeah, pretty uneventful for me too. I have a max 1 per team set for each of these teams. Maxey, Hield, and Reed are the 3 guys I would take shots on for Philly, but probably not more than 1. And then Brunson, DiVincenzo, and Achua are the 3 guys I would take shots on for the Knicks, but probably not more than 2.
TJ in the chat, you're calling me out for saying CSGO and LOL is basically the same thing. It's they're cousins. There's a Venn diagram. If you play
Are
one,
basketball and football cousins?
No.
Well, then CSGO and League of Legends aren't cousins either.
They're both video games, right? Like right there.
Basketball and football are both sports.
Oh, come on. You can't be serious. You don't think those are similar comparisons.
They're exact similar comparisons. Video game is a thing, just like a sport is a thing.
LOL is like a peach, and CSGO is like a nectarine. They're similar.
No, it's like a peach and a banana.
Did I say Embiid is in? Michael's saying I said Embiid is in. If I did, my bad. Embiid definitely not in. He's not available. He's not playing anytime soon. Do you want to cross it out? And by the way, I thought it was kind of funny. I hate when Steve gets mad when we he got 5 sports in there, but he combined golf and NASCAR, Which there's not a Venn diagram for those two. Two diametrically
Golf and
opposed.
NASCAR are equally similar as CS:GO and League of Legends.
I disagree with that. I strong disagree. Which, by the way,
and
golf
I
NASCAR
think from the same basis of it's similar people like both of them.
No, those are two different worlds. Like golf people and NASCAR people, that's two different worlds.
No,
DJ.
they're mostly just like old dudes.
That's
the majority. The majority, like not exclusively, but the majority.
I'm thinking of the people that like. Well, I just disagree. I think they're distinctly different communities, but that's a whole other conversation, I guess. But
so are League of Legends and CS:GO.
They're people that like a joystick in their hand, a controller. All right. We shall move on, right? We have nothing to say here as far as Philadelphia, as far as New York. 7:30 game, Phoenix and Dallas, 244.5 is a total. It's high and it's tight. Really, really appealing. From a, I want to roster some of these dudes' perspective. The tricky part is we do live in the world of a salary cap, and the ones who want to roster are quite pricey, right? Again, huge total, 244.5, just a couple points as far as the spread. So this feels like a game where you're going to get 40 minutes out of Luka, 37-38 out of Booker, out of Durant. Beal is questionable, which is meaningful. As far as Dallas, all their noses. Luka's got a nose, he's fine. Maxi's got a nose. Lively's got a nose. They're all good to go. They're all able to play with their nose. Dante Exum has a knee. He cannot play with his knee. But otherwise, they are fully healthy, fully good to go. Choppa, I want to get pieces of this game. It's just salary cap restrictions just kind of keep me away from it. Is this something I'm going out of my way to make work? Because it certainly feels like Luka dropped almost 100 on Phoenix earlier in the year. I'm not saying that's what he's going to do, but certainly he can. He's a little bit healthier, right? He's been beat up all season long. I know he's at All-Star weekend, but, he missed a dunk, if you saw that. He wasn't really full throttle in the All-Star game. A lot of the players weren't, but definitely Luka was not. Phoenix, Dallas, Chop, go for it.
I would say, Dean, number one, you bring up the All-Star game. What a joke, Dean. I watched about 45 seconds total of that. What a joke, man. The whole thing is just a farce.
Sample size, Chop. Sample size.
It's a farce, Dean. These guys ain't got that killer instinct like the old school guys, Dean.
Oh,
the old school
God,
guys had the killer
at the clouds.
Old school guys had that killer instinct. These young
Michael
pups,
Jordan would never rest in an All-Star game.
These young pups do not. They are sitting around watching LOL and shooter games too much, man. They don't got that killer instinct. So, but I mean, so this game has the pieces I want are expensive. Like I don't think there's any value here because it should be a competitive game. I think you're going to see the stars play. Some of these players on this team do not like each other. We know that from some prior playoff series, and so I expect like guys like Booker and Doncic to go at each other like they always do. I love that, a stack like that. Actually, that's my favorite stack in the game is Doncic and Booker. If you can get there,
How do you pay for it? How do you afford
well,
it?
TJ's giving you
Obi Toppin and Grady Dick.
You said you didn't like Dick.
The guys. TJ's already given you Dick, and he says he's horny for 40. So there you go, man. We got a couple of 3K crackers right now. I mean, Dean, if you're gonna fit in these stars, you got to find a way to do it, Dean. You got to get dirty, man. You got to get down and dirty with the Dick, Dean. If you're gonna get in there and get these stars in there, that's fine. All right, you could go Kyrie, Durant. Bill's actually fairly priced, and he was doing really well before that one game before the All-Star break. He was actually starting to see his stuff spike up a little bit. So, but I like Booker and Doncic as a stack. I'd stay away from the value plays, and that's where I'm at in this game, D.
Nobody expected to get more double digits with the exception of Kyrie. Kyrie at 11% currently on DK. This is going to change. This is fluid. This was as of a half hour ago as more information comes in. I like these players too, TJ. I just don't know how to get to them. It's really about the studs. And if we're actually going to get Durant at 1-2%, Booker at 1-2%, Luka at 2%. Like Luka at 2% just seems outrageous. Like you just get over that. It's not hard to get over that. Your thoughts when it comes to Phoenix and Dallas. Is it just the stars? Is there anybody fringy you're interested in?
just to stars, and I am very interested in all of them. I'll probably try and get 10% of each of these guys. But Kyrie, Luka, Durant, and Booker, I want all 4 of them. And so that's 100% precisely why I'm taking shots on some of these uncomfortable 3K guys.
Yeah. We did get a starting lineup for Brooklyn, Simmons, Thomas, Bridges, DFS, Claxton. Sort of was Simmons starting? He was starting, right? I think he was starting, or was he not starting?
He was starting. This is he was starting, but I was hoping they would make a move and put him with the second unit. He just doesn't belong on the floor with Claxton at the same time. Those guys just don't play well together, man.
Bad spacing with those two guys out there.
That's just sad. I was hoping that I would be more excited about Simmons if they had said he wasn't starting and he was going with the second unit, but it is what it is.
DiVincenzo officially in. Hartenstein will have a minutes guideline, which I've heard minutes monitored. I've never heard a minutes guideline if he plays Thursday. Well, I thought he was officially playing. He'll have a minutes guideline if he plays on Thursday. What is a minutes guideline, TJ?
It's a guideline that will decide how many minutes the player will or will not play.
That was insightful. Thank you. You came with that on the fly. That was off the dome.
Yeah,
pretty
absolutely.
Good. All right. Your favorite spend up in this game, TJ? It's got to be Luka, right?
Yeah, like from a raw point standpoint, by far. But he's actually probably like 4th for me, salary considered.
Who's 1, 2, 3?
Probably Kyrie, Durant, Booker, Doncic.
What's weird is if Beal doesn't play, like I don't think it matters a lot. It certainly raises the ceiling to Booker a tick. Same deal with KD. But as far as the fringe guys, is there a fringe guy that all of a sudden pops up for you? Or like they have Royce O'Neal, they have Grayson Allen, they have all. Like, is there one guy that's going to severely benefit from that? I don't know if that's the case. And like TJ, it's kind of strange. Like if Beal is out, it doesn't matter a ton. It doesn't hurt if you're playing it.
No, because these guys are all kind of priced up for someone to be out.
Yeah.
And so that's why I don't think if Beal's out, sure, add Grayson Allen to your pool. But I think that would be the only thing that would maybe change.
All right. We shall move on. I believe, is that the only 7:30 game? It is the only 7:30 game. We have some 8 o'clock games. Let's talk about it. Houston, New Orleans, 227.5 is the total. We have the Pels as 7-point favorites against Chops Rockets. The Rockets are getting back FEV, Freddie VanVleet coming back tonight. Whitmore good to go as well. Bullock is questionable, but he doesn't matter. Tari Easton's been out for a long time. New Orleans, another questionable piece up in the air. That will be Brandon Ingram, who's currently ill. Not sure if he's going to play. Not sure if we're going to get that news before 7 o'clock or not. Chop, I'll throw it to you. Freddie's back. We're assuming that means that Amen Thompson goes back to the bench. Maybe Şengün's ability to rebound the ball comes back a little bit because I know Thompson hurt him as from a rebounding perspective, but this is not really the game to capitalize on that. New Orleans, tough defensive team. Both these teams pretty good defensively. I don't really like this game a lot, but I will say the Zion price, especially on DK, is really, really appealing. I know his assists have taken a big boost this last month. He's actually filling up the box score a little bit more than he used to. So I got Zion as one of my players I like, despite the fact that there is the matchup's not great. And also, of course, if Ingram is out, Zion would really, really pop hard, and CJ McCollum would also get a boost. Your take here, Chopper, when it comes to your Rockets versus the Pels.
Yeah, Zion. Zion's the guy for me. Even if Brandon Ingram's in, I like Zion. It's a tough matchup for Houston, so I like Zion regardless. And maybe you get the benefit of Ingram being out after lock, and then people can't quite scramble and get him in there. Or they forget about it. I do like Zion. That's the one guy on that side of the ball I like. For Houston, one guy. That's Şengün. That's it. The price is low enough now. It's not even the price. It's it. You said Fred VanVleet is back. That dramatically helps Şengün. He's two rebounds worse with Amen Thompson starting as opposed to Fred VanVleet. He also, I really can't put my finger on it, but he scores 3 more points a game with Van Vliet in there. I don't know. There must be some sort of synergy between
I think
those
it's just
two.
from the pick and roll.
Yeah, maybe TJ's onto something there. But Şengün,
Little P&R, little spacing.
yeah. So I'm gonna always look to see if Fred Van Vliet is gonna be in there, and then if he is, you can play Şengün. It's the Venn diagram, Dean. If he's not, don't play Şengün. So I'm in for Şengün tonight at this price tag. But it's Zion, Şengün. Those are the two guys. The rest of it for the Rockets have no interest in Van Vliet, Jalen Green, Jabari, Dylan Brooke, none of those guys. And for New Orleans, I just don't have any. I think everybody's Joe Val's priced up enough. CJ, I'm usually not going to play. The upside is capped, and Ingram is questionable and expensive. So it's just Zion.
This certainly feels like more of a Joe Val game than it does a Larry Nance game, just like with Şengün on the other side. You want to combat the height, the girth of Alperen Şengün, but I'm probably not going to play Valanciunas either. And I don't like playing the whole Nance Valanciunas game anyway. It tends to not work for me. TJ, what do you got? Houston, New Orleans.
Basically the same thing as Chop. Şengün and Zion are the two guys I'm by far the most interested in. I do have a little bit of interest in Van Vliet, though, so I think what I'm going to do is have McCollum in my pool. And then if Brandon Ingram doesn't play, great. McCollum's a great play and leave him in there. And then if Brandon Ingram does play, I'll sub to Fred Van Vliet for $300 less. I think that's how I'm going to play that, just to get a little exposure, make sure I can get McCollum for if Brandon Ingram's out. Because if Ingram's out, I do want to get to him. If Ingram's in, it's just going to be Zion for me. And so I'll make that straight line pivot just to Fred Van Vliet instead.
If Ingram is out, Zion is going to pop ridiculously. Our if then right now, if Ingram is out, Zion would be projected for 47 DK, 47 FanDuel. That's a DK value of over 8, a FanDuel value over 7, just flying off the page. He would be crazy, crazy popular. And McCollum would look really, really strong on DK as well, with a 40-point projection, 39-point projection on FanDuel. Nobody else would be a positive value, but those two guys would look spectacular. So stay tuned as far as Ingram. And I would just float out there, nobody's playing Ingram. What if he plays and smashes? I'm not saying you have to do that. It doesn't take much to get over the field on it. But people are sort of thinking the thought process of what he does. What if he doesn't play? What if he does and actually does well? Okay, that's large field stuff, though. Let's talk about Boston, the Celtics at the Bulls, 223.5. That is the total. Boston 9-point favorite on the road. When Boston is fully healthy, they're not terribly interesting. Boston is fully healthy, so certainly you can spend up on guys like Tatum and Porzingis and Brown, White, Holiday, I guess. But I like to play Celtics when one of their main pieces is out. Tillman is available for what it's worth. Who knows if he's going to get any minutes? Jaden Springer is available. Who knows if he's going to get any minutes? But just sort of throwing that out there. The Bulls are pretty healthy, at least, still without Torrey Craig, still without Patrick Williams, but at least Caruso's available. I don't really love this game, Chop. Tell me otherwise.
I'm not going to tell you otherwise, Dean, because I don't love it either, especially the Chicago side. I have no interest in the Chicago side. For Boston, at 7,700, I could play some Porzingis and feel pretty comfortable about it. It's going to be tough to pay 9,900 for Tatum in this game. They just, there's just such a big chance of a Boston blowout against teams like this all the time that I don't want to spend up too much. But Porzingis is in a fine price range. The other guys don't really intrigue me at all. So, yeah, Porzingis is the one guy I've got highlighted that I could play.
TJ, you going to get us excited about anybody in Chicago or Boston tonight?
X, the whole game, X'd out, not playing anybody.
Yeah. Drummond, how many minutes is Drummond going to play alongside? It doesn't feel like a game where they play him a lot together, right? Vuk and Drummond. I know they've been doing that more so of late. It's just Boston doesn't feel like the kind of matchup for that. So I was thinking about him as a
try
possible.
and do that against Boston, this one will be over very, very fast.
Yeah, that seems like a disaster waiting to happen. We have 20 minutes for Drummond and 36 for Vuk, so just 8 minutes overlap. We've seen more overlap versus teams like Cleveland, several, but I think the Lakers as well, if I'm not mistaken. But we shall move on. Yeah, Michael in chat wants us to talk about the Clippers and OKC. Did not skip it. Yeah, they're just kind of in the chunk. They're all similar 8 o'clock start times. That's the last 8 o'clock game. Revenge game all around. SGA, Paul George, Russell Westbrook. I was going to call Wilson for some reason. I do it all the time. 235 is the total. It's pretty high, and it's definitely tight because OKC is just a 1-point favorite here. Clippers are good to go. They are fully healthy. OKC, fully healthy, and for what it's worth, Bismack Biyombo, newly signed, is available to play. Not sure if he will. Gordon Hayward is available to play. Newly acquired Gordon Hayward, who's not played for months, also available to play. How many minutes are we giving him? I can't imagine we're actually rostering him. 20 minutes. 20 minutes to Gordon Hayward. All right, he's going to eat off of Giddey took a little bit of a haircut. All right, he's been kind of falling back anyway. But this is another game, TJ, I think, where you like the studs, but salary, I like the studs in this game. But, SGA, 4% ownership, Kawhi, 2% ownership, Chet, 1%, Paul George, 1%. It's just hard. It's hard to make work because right now we don't really have the reliable 3-4K guys to really load up on this stuff. You got to choose wisely. You get maybe one stud. You can get two, but then you got to roster yourself some Fournier and some Dick, which you don't feel spectacular about, or players of that ilk. TJ, I'm excited about this game. I want to try to make it work. I just don't know how, but that's the plan at least. Clippers, Thunder, your thoughts?
Yeah, I'm not actually overly enthused from a DFS perspective. I'm sure it'll be a great one to watch. On the OKC side of things, I love SGA. He is the one stud in this game that I want to get to quite a bit today. He's coming in at low projected ownership, single digits, sub 5%. He and Jalen Williams will be the two guys on OKC I will take shots on. And the Clippers, it's actually not Paul George. It's not James Harden. It's not Kawhi Leonard that I want to take shots on. It actually is Ivica Zubac. 5,400, nice and cheap for him going up against a team that has a legit center that will be on the court a lot. I think Zubac should be good for I think 26 is like a reasonable floor for minutes for him today. I think he'll probably push 28, 29. And so I do like him for tournaments. I think he's got a big ceiling at that price tag.
Yeah, I bet over on his rebounds. I bet over his alt rebounds. And, the Clippers tend to really like going small when they can, but maybe they won't here. And a lot of times they don't let Zubac close. He can take a shower after the third quarter many times, but maybe they let him come back. I think he's kind of interesting as well, just because there's a chance he plays 27, 28, 29. And we know OKC, really, really good basketball team, but they're horrific at rebounding the ball. So you got yourself a shot at the old double-double for Ivica Zubac. Chop, what do you got? Thunder, Clippers.
Nah, not a lot, Dean. Paul George. So for the Clippers, Paul George is the guy I'm most likely to play just because I think I put George, Harden, and Leonard in a basket, and you can have a big game out of any of them when they're all healthy. And Paul George is the cheapest, so that's why I would choose him over the other guys, but it could go anyway. Oklahoma City, they've got SGA is awesome, but he's also incredibly high priced. And with all these other guys on this slate that I could spend on, I probably don't want to go that route. And then the other guys are priced well enough that I don't really need to go that route. So just Paul George in this game really stands out for me. I'd like to address Herbert in the chat, Dean. I think he's making some sort of a joke saying I like T-bone steaks. I actually don't mind a T-bone, okay? I don't mind a T-bone steak or a ribeye. How
do you like your T-bone cooked?
Oh, no, it's got to be medium rare. It's got to be medium rare.
Good answer.
But as far as the steaks with the bone in them or the fat on them, yes, man, all day. I like that so much more than the stuff with nothing, with nothing on. And as far as A1 sauce, no, thank you, sir. If you haven't made the steak, if you haven't seasoned it enough and prepared it well enough that it needs A1, it was a bad steak. I certainly don't want any A1 sauce.
All right. Ownership wise in this game, just kind of taking a peek. I want to see if we got a refresh when it comes. Yeah, we did. We got an ownership refresh about 10 minutes or so ago. 545. So about 10 minutes ago, we have a refresh when it comes to ownership. And the only one in double digits here is Jalen Williams, the good Jalen Williams. I like him a good bit. Certainly don't mind him as an a la carte piece or a little bit of a stack as well. George is officially off his minutes, whatever minutes restriction he had, right? I think so. I want to say he played 36 last time out. What are we projecting? 33. Yeah, I like a couple more minutes there, possibly, at least a chance at a couple more minutes. Maybe he can play 34, 35, 36. Anything else we should say here, TJ, when it comes to Clippers and OKC, or shall we move on?
No, I think we can move on.
We only have 2 more games left. Look at the pace. We talk about 2 hours of nonstop NBA DFS conversation. That's what it's been. We're flying through. Crunch time coming in about 20 minutes or so. You got Squirrel Patrol. You got Kevin Roth. You have the Chief Wills coming in as well. Let's see, early poll results. The people are divided, but you don't really know if they're voting for golf or NASCAR, but golf, NASCAR is in the lead. What sport to play during the DFS All-Star break? The NBA All-Star break. 29%. It's really, really close, really, really tight. 29% for golf, NASCAR, 21% for MMA, 27% for hockey, and 23% for college basketball, which to me seems kind of surprisingly high. I thought that would be lower. But I know, Chop, you pushed your college basketball pretty hard. Maybe you persuaded some of the people. Let's talk about 2 games that start at 9:00. This is a DFS dream, right? To some extent, you're not necessarily looking for great basketball when it comes to Charlotte taking on the Jazz. 228 is the total. Jazz are 10-point favorites versus the Hornets. The Hornets are without LaMelo Ball. Who knows if or when he's going to play again. Utah is fully healthy with the exception of Otto Porter. That doesn't really matter. Mark Williams, he's probably going to not play a game the rest of the season. Remember, Mark Williams was questionable for like 10 games in a row in December? Good job, Charlotte. Hell of a job. Great organization. Okay, TJ, Jazz, Charlotte. We have a lot of popular players on the Jazz. Good matchup, of course, against Charlotte. They've been better, we should say. Small sample stuff. They've been better of late since their trades. They've been more competent. Their defense got better as well. The Jazz have been like the worst defensive team in basketball for, I was looking at this 10-game stretch. Was it 10 games I was looking at? So, defensively, they are 4 points worse than the second worst team in the last 10 games when it comes to defensive efficiency. 127.2 right in front of, behind, depending on how you look at it, Philadelphia. They've been so bad defensively. So theoretically, this Charlotte team that has some real basketball players, I guess, Man's been pretty solid, finally getting a chance, getting out of OKC where he was blocked by, SGA. It's just going to happen. He's been pretty solid so far. And there's some shock here, TJ. Sexton, 48%. Keontae George, he's got the rainbow on the lineup HQ, 42%. Walker Kessler at 18%. Trey Mann, the aforementioned Trey Mann, the most popular Hornet at 22%. This game is not sneaking up on anybody. Your thoughts when it comes to Charlotte, Utah?
George does feel like good chalk to me, sub 5K. The Sexton one is the one that confuses me a little bit. 48.68% projected ownership for Colin Sexton right now. $6,200. It's not like he's 5K. I would way rather play, like, if you play him in cash. If you're getting a little bit different elsewhere, you can play him in single entry. But I did set a rule of I just want to play one of George or Sexton. These guys are getting so heavily owned. Most people are playing them together. But also just play Jordan Clarkson instead. Jordan Clarkson for less than 10% ownership is basically the exact same guy as Colin Sexton. Like, he's going to play the same amount of minutes and he's going to do the same thing. So why is Sexton 50% and Clarkson is 10? To me, if they should be 25-25. Kessler, I like, but I'll probably be a little bit underweight. Chris Dunn, I'll probably be overweight on because that's somebody that, again, if George or Sexton are going to fail, Dunn could be the one that steps in and has a good game. And then I'm also going to try and get to as much Lauri Markkanen as I can. One, because I like him. Two, because if Brandon Ingram gets ruled out an hour prior to that, I can pivot my Markkanen shares to get more Zion Williamson and make sure I'm getting way over the field there. On the Charlotte side of things, I love them too. This and the Detroit Indy game. Those are my two favorite games on the slate. Miles Bridges, I think, is a fantastic spend up at super low ownership. Terrible guy, great DFS play. Brandon Miller has been struggling lately, but I think he is somewhat interesting at incredibly low ownership. And then Richards and Martin, again, single digit. I'll take lots of shots on them. I don't mind Grant Williams and Trey Mann. They are totally A-okay, especially Trey Mann. But I'd rather get to the lower owned guys. And so Grant Williams is probably someone I'll be significantly underweight on.
The man thing is weird because he's been playing great. Mitchell has been playing good behind him. They've crossed over a little bit for whatever reason. Like I think Man's like not closed basically at all. Mostly it's been the other back, the Mitchell, but he's still getting his minutes and he's still playing really well. So it's just kind of odd the way they're running that. Doesn't mean he can't close going forward. I just thought that was going through the court IQ stuff. Chop, 48% Sexton, 42% Keontae George. Is that good chalk or bad chalk?
40. I mean, it's so high that, like, it's so high. I'm going to say bad chalk, although I've highlighted George as a pretty good player in my expert survey just because, like, as far as optimals and cash games, yeah, I mean, 4,700, he's coming off of a 50-plus point game, and they didn't boost his salary up. So yeah, he's fine, man, at 40. He's been, like, getting a lot of good run lately. I think he's fine for cash. For GPPs, I'm going to say bad chalk because at maybe 60% in some tournaments, that could definitely be something that holds people back. Colin Sexton, I think there's more upside there, and he's a really, really good player, but really chalky means that I could probably find better ways to spend that money too. So I like Lauri Markkanen more than either one of those guys in this game for Utah. So I'm on Markkanen. And for Charlotte, I haven't highlighted anybody, but I think if you want to run anybody back with any of those guys, sure, Miles Bridges is expensive, but a great play. Brandon Miller, absolutely starting to figure out the NBA stuff and was looking really good before the All-Star break. So Brandon Miller, and then if you want to save some money down there, Grant Williams, been very nice since that trade. So there's options there for Charlotte to run back too. But Markkanen, my favorite. I will play Sexton. I will play George, just not at the rates of the field. I'll be well below that. But they are, especially George, if you're playing something similar to cash or something in that range, a triple up, a quadruple up, I think George and Sexton are great.
You have 4,700 remaining at your guard position. Now, again, in cash, you're probably playing both of these guys. But say you got 4,700 remaining in your guard. You go in George or Mathurin?
George. You're talking cash?
No, tournament. You're playing both in cash.
I think that George is a little more stable than Mathurin, but of course the ownership reflects that. What is the rest of your lineup? How is the rest of your lineup also super chalky or not so much? Actually, it doesn't really matter.
It doesn't really matter. They're 42 and 36. That's why I compared them because you're not worried.
I would just play George. I would play George. Have you settled it? Have you figured it out? You're still kind of debating.
I would go that. No, that's not for me. I think that's just a question people are going to have because they're both chalky in that range. Like if we're picking one of the chalky plays, who would you go with? For me, that would be George too.
Do you ever like say we were talking like game by game stuff, but just kind of overall strategy, TJ, and then you make a bunch of lineups and you put some rules in all the time. So like Sexton is 50%, George is 47%, Matherin's 33%. Do you ever say like max two of those three? You ever like put those kind of rules in and say I don't want all three? I don't want to start any builds with those three guys because then now it's like a 5v5.
I rarely do it with multiple players on different teams. I'll do it with one team. So tonight I have max a one of George, Sexton, Clarkson, and Dunn.
Okay. Yeah, I saw somebody asking about THT. That seems too ambitious for me. Are you playing any THT? I got to make 1,000 lineups or so to get the Horton talk.
No, but we got more pressing stuff now because not only is Bradley Beal out, but Donovan Mitchell is out too.
The Mitchell one's the most important one, I think. Beal, you tell me, TJ, because we kind of talked about the Beal thing, and sure, you get boosts for Kate. You already liked Durant, you already liked Booker. Now they're ceiling gets a little bit higher. The wings, they're going to get bumps, but they're also kind of like not great prices for Eric Gordon. So the one that's most important, I think, is Mitchell. Mitchell being out. I guess he did not tweet. I didn't see his tweet, and he's not playing basketball tonight. But Cleveland's going to really, really pop. And we can kind of circle back as far as the FN stuff. I think it was 4 players were popping to various degrees. Mobley especially. Then Levert getting 32 minutes. Garland 35. Again, these guys are full. So it's the old perfect storm where the minutes are now full. They're kind of bathing Mobley and Garland before the All-Star break. Now they're going to get full minutes and no Mitchell. So Mobley and Garland both look great. And of course, Jared Allen looks pretty good too. What's most appealing to you as far as the Cleveland situation, TJ? Do you have a favorite? I was going to ask you to put rules in, but even organically, you're going to get at least one of Mobley, LeVert, Garland, Allen. Any sort of caps on those four?
I'm going to have to wait and see what the projections come out as, Allen, and like just so I can look in comparison to the rest of my teams. Obviously, we have the what if there, and I'll see their numbers, but I want to wait and see how they compare kind of with the rest of the guys as building lineups. Garland is definitely going to be my favorite. Jared Allen is probably going to be the one I'll prioritize the least. But Strus and LeVert, both at under 5K, I think become very interesting. And like, I don't know, can I play a 3K flat Sam Merrill? I think so.
They only have 10 players, it looks like, Cleveland, and that includes Damian Jones, Dean Wade, the minivan Niang. We are projecting 16 minutes for Merrill. At least we were for the FN. This might change, but they're going to play a really tight rotation. It's not a great matchup against Orlando,
Okoro,
obviously.
Strus, Mobley, Allen. So it's just Okoro stepping into the starting line.
Yeah, LeVert. Well, yeah, that's the thing is like LeVert might also not close. Like if Okoro is playing really good defense, so like he's just really cheap. He's going to project well. I wonder if he's like really jumping off the page if he's an interesting fade. Yeah, jump in here, Chop, as far as Cleveland. If you want to talk about the Phoenix situation, by all means, talk about that as well.
Phoenix doesn't really do anything. Like Beal is. So if Bill played, I think you pencil him in for like maybe 35 fantasy points. And, Booker is still a threat to go for 60. Durant's still a threat to go for 50 or 60. Bill goes out, and I think Booker is still a 60-point guy, and Durant is still a 50-plus point guy. Like, I don't think that moves the needle very much. So that doesn't do anything. Mitchell obviously is huge. So now it's unfortunate now that Garland is going to be super chalky because I was already going to be overweight on Garland. I liked him a lot. Now the field is going to like him too. So, but he's going to smash for this price tag. He's in great shape. LeVert is a lot riskier. I think Mobley, I liked Mobley before. We mentioned him already. I think he gets a boost too. So Mobley and Garland, two of the guys we already talked about, I think are the two of the bigger movers here in this thing. But now the field is also going to be on them. So it's a double-edged sword, man. They're gonna smash their price tags, but now you got to deal with a whole bunch more ownership.
Let's knock out this last game, and then we can kind of circle back or whatever the chat wants to talk about as we bridge to crunch time. Crunch time coming in about 10 minutes or so. Start loading up some questions in chat as well. J3 is saying he hit the like button out of respect for Keith, the Iceman, and the projections team. I don't know if Keith is on projections today, but sure. The projections team does a fabulous job, and they're going to be updating this very shortly, I imagine, and we're going to kind of circle back, and I want to see what's really, really smashing optimals. I'm sure it's going to be a lot of Cleveland. All right. Denver scheduled loss on the other side for the Washington Wizards. 233 is the total. Denver is 16-point favorites here versus the Wiz. Jokic is amazing, but he's expensive, which is kind of in the theme of like some pieces in this slate. Of course, we love the Joker, but am I going to like spend up for him? I don't know. I'm not sure if I can prioritize that. I would be thrilled to get him, but at what cost? Washington is fully healthy, with the exception of Isaiah Livers, who I still don't think has played a second for the Wiz. And Jamal Murray is good to go with his leg. KCP had that hammy. He's good to go as well. So Denver fully healthy. They should fully smash the Wizards here. Shout out to Denny Avdia, who was spectacular several games before the All-Star break, and the price is kind of adjusted. But, if you want to stack this up, if you're playing Joker, maybe Avdia is the kind of guy you run it back with. Tyus Jones also looks pretty all right as well. But, Chop, it's a tough one here, right? It feels like a blowout. The Wizards, they get paid too. Maybe it won't be. But I like Porter. I like Gordon. Murray I'm fine with. I'm a little bit concerned as far as them fully pushing his minutes with the hammy. It was a leg. I guess the hammy was KCP. And I'm never going to be mad if I get Joker, but just I don't know if I'm prioritizing it. Your thoughts when it comes to Washington and Denver?
Yeah, so on the Washington side, the last time we saw Denny Avdia on the floor, the dude was dropping 70-plus DK points. I don't know what got into him, but, he's certainly in play. Tyus Jones was killing it before the All-Star break. So there's players there that you can play. I think they're more one-offs and not even game stacks necessarily, but just one-offs if you want to go that route. Fringe players for Denver, I agree. Porter and Gordon stand out, especially on DraftKings where Gordon's only 6,300. It's a good solid price for a good solid player. But Jokic he's right up there, man, he's right up there with Luka and maybe even Booker now as who are the best players on the slate, period, just raw points wise. He's certainly up there, but obviously in Denver like this, you do have to worry about how much is he going to be limited minutes wise. So I think that breaks the tie for me. But then again, you look at his numbers this year against Washington, and in the past few times he's played this team while they've been bad, and he's still crushed even in limited time. So I think he's up there. He's a good play. The French players are okay. I think there's runbacks on Washington, although I don't necessarily love the game stack aspect of it, but there's some good players in this game. Tyus, Avila, Jokic, to a lesser extent, Porter and Gordon.
DJ?
Not playing anybody from Washington except for maybe a little Daniel Gafford, but I don't really want to do that either. Or sorry, I meant Marvin Bagley, not Daniel Gafford, pardon me. And then on the Denver side of things, Jokic is great as per usual. I'll probably be even with the field. And then Jamal Murray is projecting for less than 1%. So I'll get him in one of my 20 lineups. But not getting any of these Washington guys. Kuzma's back now. It's going to be pretty easy, like even usage spread out throughout the whole team. It's a big pace down matchup, so I don't think I'm going to get there.
Just ran some optimals on DK. First three have 4 Cavs in them. Very, very predictable, and obviously those Cavs are Garland, LeVert, Mobley, and Allen. Amongst those 4, Chop, who's the one that's most fragile? I think LeVert is the most fragile amongst those 4.
Say that again. Give me the names again.
Garland, LeVert, Mobley, Allen.
Oh yeah, definitely LeVert. Definitely LeVert. I mean, making lineups is the lineup HQ spits things out and based on projections. So I know I'm gonna have to like dumb his projection down a little bit, LeVert. So I'll still have some, but he's definitely the guy I would want to fade out of those 4 for sure.
Nobody hit my cap, by the way. So I capped it at 71%. I did add a lot of variance to it. Garland, most popular player in my optimals at 46%. LeVert, 45%. Mobley, 31%. Okoro is even hitting 28%.
You only got 46% Garland?
Yes. I think I might have too much variance to it or something like that. Or, I think I have only 4 Cavs allowed. Would actually 5 hit? If I allow 5,
I only got 3 Cavs allowed, and I'm going to end up with 90% Garland.
Okay, yeah. Well, okay. I ran over 100 lineups, so I'm getting. Yeah. If I ran less, I would imagine.
That makes sense. That makes sense. So I think the rule too I'm going to make for tournaments is I'm going to have one of Garland and Sam Merrill in every lineup. I have 90% Garland and I have 10% Merrill.
Who's your least favorite Cav that's going to be owned?
LeVert, by far.
Yeah, that's.
I'm going to have 40% of them, but he's by far my least favorite.
Let's see. Question for you in chat, TJ. Brandon Miller or Cam Thomas? FanDuel GPP. Brandon Miller or Cam Thomas? Go for DeWin is asking that question.
I think Brandon Miller is safer. I think Cam has higher upside. I would probably go. If I don't have any other Charlotte players, I'd probably go Miller. If I had Utah on there, I'd go Miller. But if I had some other Charlotte, I'd go Cam.
Hartenstein officially in, according to Hartenstein, he said he's going to play. I've had several people in chat mention the Westbrook revenge game. Isn't he like 3 teams removed revenge for OKC? Chop, are we sleeping on Westbrook? Is that a problem? I mean, that's what beats me. So be it.
No. Price is okay. But with everybody back and healthy in the All-Star break like that, I don't see a ton of upside for him. So it would probably take an in-game injury to somebody for him to really reach out and burn you. So now pass.
Chop, your guy, Butto. Butto in chat is saying Nick Richards greater than Kessler. Who do you prefer as far as center in that Utah-Charlotte game?
Between those 2 guys?
Yeah.
Probably Kessler. I probably prefer Kessler, although Nick Richards is fine too. So, but no, I'll prefer Kessler between the two of them because Kessler has that massive upside with blocks, and Charlotte is yeah, they're okay. He's had better situations. Nick Richards, as far as injuries around him, he doesn't have as many tonight. So I'd say Kessler for sure.
TJ, you're playing 3-max, 3-max contest. Mr. Richard wants to know, is there a player or players that you must roster on your 3-max setting for DraftKings?
At least 3 Cavs in each one, and I think Darius Garland is the one you need in each.
At least 3.
I think 3 is the number. But I think, in a 3-entry max, you probably want at least 3 of them.
Okay. All right. Interesting. I think you definitely can play 3.
Yeah, I think you play Garland, you play one of Mobley or Allen, and you play one of the wings. Or you play both Mobley and Allen with Garland. But I think you want 3 Cavs in each lineup.
How about any runbacks on Orlando? This is one of those situations where no runback looks great on Orlando. Are you forcing anything there, or you don't have to?
No, I don't think you have to at all.
Yeah, if Banchero was out, it'd be different. But they're big roster. There's really nobody that pops there for me.
Man, Dean, I always get suckered into that, Dean. The run back,
the run back?
In basketball, it's totally not necessary in basketball when you're playing certain guys from a certain team like Cleveland tonight, and you're playing them because of value, because of salary. There's zero reason to run anybody back. You don't have to do that. So this is not a football thing where the run back is fantastic regardless, but you don't have to run anybody back in basketball.
If you need a tiebreaker, it's a tiebreaker. But otherwise, it's something that sometimes is overstressed and probably forced a little bit too much. We got Crunch Time Crew coming in. Crunch Time Crew, today's poll question. I'll give you a second to think about it. Best sport to play DFS during the All-Star break, the NBA All-Star break. It's MMA, it's NHL, it's college basketball, or this is a grouping, golf/NASCAR. We have Kevin Roth. We have SquirrelPatrol. We got Will as well. Squirrel, what is the I feel like just hearing you talk, I feel like you MMA is your answer, is your favorite if you had to pick one. I'm not going to give you the answer. It's your answer. You get the answer for yourself. Which is your favorite to play?
Yeah, I'd go with UFC, MMA. Golf and NASCAR is a weird pairing.
You don't say. Somebody might have said that about a half hour ago, and I got chastised for it because they were telling me it's the same group of fans. And I was saying, no, golf people and NASCAR people are two distinct.
No, they're the most niche sports in the list, Dean. Give me a break. There's only 4 options.
The other thing is Dean was trying to say CSGO and League of Legends were the exact same thing because they're both just video games. And so we were trying to show him as a comparison. That's just like saying 2 sports are the same thing just because
basketball and hockey are the same thing because they're both sports.
Oh, you're being ridiculous now. CSGO,
so were you.
Well,
we are being ridiculous.
Dean, let me settle this right now. CSGO,
you guys missed this?
And LOL are nothing like each other. Like in the slight, they're nothing like each other. That's like saying Call of Duty and Madden are exactly the same.
They're both video games.
No,
yeah.
Dean,
wait, I'm on Dean's side.
Football are both sports, Dean. They're both sports. Same thing.
Get Dean out of here, folks.
But they are the outliers. They are.
And
Thanks.
I'm going to answer the question, by the way. Hey, good stuff. I don't know if we're really kicking him out. But first off, Dean, you were right. Dean, you're right. Oh, he's back. That's good. Did he immediately boot someone else? Is that what?
No, Chop just left. Chop had enough.
Oh, Chop had enough. Dean, the right answer to what is the best sport is obviously NASCAR PGA, because with NASCAR, you just play Stevie's picks and people made hundreds of thousands of dollars. So that's the move, right?
Stevie won $50K as well. I don't know if you heard that. He took down the tournament on FanDuel. So yeah, shout out to him.
And I think we've got the best golf team out of any other of anybody else who gives content.
Dang it.
Roth, your boy took down like 2 GPPs this weekend in golf. Me, I don't know if I know nothing about golf. Yeah,
let's go.
I don't know if you were aware of that, but Ingram, by the way, is officially out, so you guys will have to deal with that on crunch time. Man, there's Zion's going to be incredibly owned. CJ as well. It's going to be Cavs and it's going to be Zion, and that's like the super, super obvious stuff, which Squirrel and Will are going to talk about. But I was going to ask Chop his Field in the Plums play. His Field in the Plum play is just to leave, and that's what he's feeling in his Plums. He's got to take off. But TJ, maybe you can give the people two. Did you feel two players in the Plums for this slate tonight?
I don't think there's any big need for them at all anymore because we have so much more value now. But I will still say, I think Grady Dick and Evan Fournier below at near min price will both be good value plays today if you're running a lot of lineups. And now I also think I'm going to mix in Sam Merrill into that little vomit pool of players that I have down there too. So I can get my Luka, my Jokic, my SGA, my Durant, my Booker, and all those players today. The other thing I just want to say quick, just shout out to the whole RotoGrinders team and all the other sports outside. Obviously we know they crushed the big ones, but it was NHL All-Star break, it was NBA All-Star break, and all of us were crushing NHL. Bunch of people crushing NASCAR, like Roth mentioned. Bunch of people crushing golf, like you guys were mentioning. And in MMA, like in UFC on Saturday, I was talking about I took down my single entry. I chopped it with Squirrel. Squirrel and I had the same lineup, and we chopped single entry. So it's been a great little NBA All-Star break for the squad.
You guys are in the secret chat together. Is that what's going on?
He wasn't actually even in that on that MMA show. So the fact that I ended up with the same lineup as him with him not there was pretty crazy.
I'm going to throw Jalen Duren. I don't know if it's Duren or Cunningham, but I feel pretty good about one of them getting there, and I'm considering a little game stack. But we're going to go off the board, and he's just going to be lost now on this slate as my Field in the Plums play. But the people are going to want to hear what Will has to say, what Squirrel has to say in regards to the slate. Myself and TJ and Chop, I presume. We're happy you watched the first portion. Do hit that like button. Do subscribe. Do turn on those notifications and get comfortable because there's 37 minutes of crunch time until we hit the FanDuel sponsor crunch time. Kevin Roth's going to take it away right now.
Very good. As always, welcome to it, ladies and gents. It is crunch time. It is generally the show. We bring you two of the sharpest minds in the biz. One of those two sharpest minds is just now rejoining, I do believe. There's the man back in action with the double screen. He's up. He's back. What up, Chief?
Nothing much, man. Glad to be back. First day for NBA in a week. I actually did take my break off mostly this time. I think I've done that 2 or 3 years in a row now where I've barely played. I did play some NASCAR Sunday. I dibbled and dabbled a little bit over the weekend, but mostly I enjoyed my break, man. I started watching Abbott Elementary. And so I'm in the season 2 of that right now. So that's something I'll continue as we go off the break. I ended up watching The Crossover, which is like a Disney Plus show. I finished that one, watched a couple movies. I did not cook over the break. DoorDash got too much of my money over the break, but I'm okay with that. That was part of the break. Yeah. And so I'm glad to be back and hop in. And then MLB spring training started today, which Roth, I know, baseball's coming. We're not going to mention that right now, but baseball is almost here. Shh, don't tell anybody. And there you have it. So we're back. And this slate basically took a turn on its head. So all the ideas I had to start the show have changed somewhat, but we'll be good to go once we start diving into it.
Well, I'm glad you're back. You are well rested, you're rejuvenated, and you're ready to rock. Give the people some winners. We got Squirrel in the house as well. Squirrel, how are you? How was your break?
Good. I went on a skiing trip, but I don't ski, so it's weird. It was my first ever ski trip. Did
you attempt it, or did you just sit in the sauna the whole time?
Nope. Just sat in the restaurants and stuff. They had crazy French drinks. It was up near Montreal. So it was a good time. My daughter did skiing. She's 7, so now she's been skiing 2 or 3 times more than I have. Because she was just going down the slopes. But it was a good time.
Very nice. Might I recommend, since your daughter is young, that you just pick up skiing? You could probably figure it out, and then you could go down. Give it a shot. Maybe give it a try next time.
I would give it a shot. I'm not against the idea. I think it would be fun. It's just it seems so logistically difficult of getting all the equipment and then getting up the slope or whatever, and you got to get down the slope, and you got to know how to ski. So
that is
figure all that out at some point. But
I tried snowboarding once, and on my way up, there are these little T-bars that carry you up the bunny slope, and halfway up, I fell and I lost my grip. and I slid down and I took out literally every person that was coming up beyond me. And I was the most hated person on the bunny slopes for the remainder of the day. It is difficult for you. Perhaps winning tournaments comes a little bit more naturally, but that is what we're going to do tonight. So let's dive into this slate, guys. We've got 34 minutes here until lock. Chief, I assume you're going to run through some cash plays for me.
Yeah, man. No need for me to talk tournaments when the greatest tournament player of our generation is on the same show. So cash is what I will be talking about today.
Okay. Well, the big news that just broke was Ingram is out due to illness. So Zion suddenly gets a massive bump up. But where are we standing here as far as a FanDuel cash build? You know, what are your locks and who are you building around? And if you could go position by position, that'd be great.
Yeah, it's going to be pretty simple today, I think, with all the new news that has come in. I don't, in my opinion, I think we had Keontae George earlier. I actually still like Keontae George, and I wanted to mention that. I don't think that's someone that we have to get away from, because this matchup with Charlotte and his minutes, he's back up playing 30 plus minutes a game. I still think he's great, but we're not going to be able to ignore Darius Garland at 6,500. I mean, he's the cash lock. I'm not throwing the term lock around like, in a false sense. I think he's the cash point guard on FanDuel. Mm-hmm. If you're not playing Darius Garland on FanDuel tonight, I think that's a huge mistake. But the ownership is now reflecting that. We've got him around 61%. That's probably for tournaments or for tournaments, but for cash games, I think you need to be playing him. Once again, I still think we had Keontae George tagged earlier. I still think Keontae's in a great spot. This matchup with Charlotte is fantastic. Now, I will say this. You can play CJ McCollum at point guard as well if you so choose. You can get him at point guard and shooting guard, but some combination of those three, I think those 2 to 3, I think that's the right idea at point guard on FanDuel tonight. At shooting guard, once again, you can get CJ McCollum at shooting guard, so I don't want to if you want to kind of flip-flop it there, you can also get Keontae George at shooting guard. So you get what I'm saying? Some combination of those three, I think you're going to need them. You've got Karis LeVert, who's going to be available now. He's 5,700. I think he's going to be, big time in play. If you decide that you want to spend up in this particular spot, I do think Devin Booker is viable tonight in cash because there will not be any Bradley Beal suiting up for the Suns. So while you might be reaching up some, and I think if you're playing Devin Booker, you're perhaps not playing anyone past his salary in cash. And I want to make that clear. In cash, I think if you're playing Booker, you're not going to go past his particular salary in cash games. So I do like him a great deal, along with LeVert, along with Keontae, along with CJ McCollum. I think you can just kind of flip-flop those guys back and forth. All of those guys should be really good plays tonight. Moving to small forward. When I look at small forward, you've got Kevin Durant. If you want to take that shot on Kevin Durant, once again, Bradley Beal. I guess I said I wasn't going past Devin Booker outside of Kevin Durant, but I'm not playing them both. So if I don't play Booker, I'm most likely going to play Durant and then play a combination of those other three guards we talked about: CJ, Keontae.
Oh, I think we just lost him, unless that's me that
the pause for emphasis.
Yeah. All right.
Yeah. I think he's moving. So,
okay.
And we're getting a bad thunderstorm here. So if I end up going out,
if I've got to give the NBA content, we're all in a world of hurt. So hopefully you can stick around. Would you mind kind of picking up where he left off and then walk us through just your thoughts on FanDuel?
Sure. I'll just start at point guard.
Sure.
That's the way I had my thoughts organized. But
yep.
So it's a little bit interesting because with all of the news that just broke, we're getting some big chalk in terms of Darius Garland, Zion Williamson. I don't want to encourage people to get away from that because I think those are like Garland and Zion were pretty good plays for this news, and so now it's they're kind of, I don't want to say lock buttons, but they're certainly the guys you don't want to even in tournaments try to get away from them. But so the guys that I'm kind of mentioning are maybe guys that earlier in the day were kind of chalk, but now they're going to see less ownership.
Yeah.
It's like Deontay George is probably the best example of that. He's a little bit better priced on DraftKings, but he's still a good play on FanDuel. Somebody I like Jamal Murray. I think a lot of people are going to be going to Jokic. Washington is a really good matchup for opposing offenses. And I think people will be going to Jokic, but I think Jamal Murray might be the guy that kind of benefits. Yeah, and Jalen Brunson, I think, is an interesting play. Philadelphia has been awful on defense since Embiid left. Went out about 8 games ago. And so I think Brunson is somebody that could benefit, and we're not really thinking of Philadelphia as a matchup we want to target. But I think for GPPs, I think it's a really interesting call. Shooting guard, like some Jordan Clarkson. He's maybe not as sneaky pivot off of the Utah chalk if the Utah guys aren't going to be chalky. Benedict Mathurin for the Pacers, I think he's going to benefit from Aaron Nesmith being out. Moving on to small forward, I like some Lauri Markkanen. That the Charlotte-Utah game is going to get a lot of ownership on both sides, but I haven't really heard a lot of people talking about Markkanen. Kevin Durant obviously gets a boost, and it's always the GPP play with Beal out. Power forward, Zion is going to be real hard to get away from. But similar to the Jamal Murray thought, you can play some Michael Porter, some Aaron Gordon. I think the Pacers have a really good matchup against Detroit. That might start to get missed a little bit, as people are going to these Cleveland guys, because you want to be playing some Evan Mobley, but you can play some like Pascal Siakam. Center, I really like Miles Turner. He's going to get lost now with a lot of people going to Jared Allen and Evan Mobley.
Okay. Very good. I guess that we got Chief back here just in time. Chief, anything you want to jump on here and kind of add back in as you think about closing out maybe the forward and center spot there on FanDuel?
I don't think we have to get too wild and crazy. I like Lauri Markkanen on FanDuel at 8K. And then you're probably going to go Mobley and Allen. Like, you don't have to avoid those guys. It's good value with all those guys out. So that's the short and simple version.
Okay. Short and simple works for me. We do want to kick it to DK, but first we should note Crunch Time is presented by FanDuel. And right now, if you bet $5, you get $150 in bonus bets if your first bet wins. For new users in Arizona, Colorado, Connecticut, Illinois, Indiana, Iowa, Kansas, Kentucky, Louisiana, Maryland, Massachusetts, Michigan, New Jersey, New York, Ohio, Pennsylvania, Tennessee, Virginia, Vermont, West Virginia, and Wyoming. Terms and conditions apply. Must be 21 and up. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. Shout out to our sponsor, FanDuel, keeping this show for y'all. Let's kick it over to DK. And Chief, you can walk me through a build over there. The value pieces are nice, man. I'm loving the way my build is coming together.
Yeah, on DK, I think, and so on DK, I'm just going to cover it, I think, more overarching, because I do think there are similar players, but just how you construct those guys, because I did catch the end of Squirrel talking about Benedict Mathurin and kind of, his role with the team there. Well, on DK, he's 4,500, and Keontae George is 4,700. So the value on DK for them is still there, and even better. Darius Garland is an even better play on DK. Karis LeVert at 4,800, even better play on DK. Evan Mobley at 67, even better. So you're going to play a lot of these same guys. I do think Colin Sexton on DK 6,200 is definitely viable. In my opinion, his minutes haven't changed. I also like Marvin Bagley on DK, where he's 5,300, even alongside Jared Allen. And I might actually like Bagley a little bit better than Allen on DK for what it's worth. So I like him. I see somebody mention Grant Williams. I was going to mention Grant Williams on DK. At 4,500, and his minutes have been really stable in Charlotte, totally different role. So if you haven't been paying attention, you don't realize that. So at 4,500, I think his role is spectacular. And I'm probably a little less interested in Kevin Durant on DK, even though he can still get there. I think I'd rather just go all the way up to Jokic if I really want to spend up. Whereas on FanDuel, where the price gap between somebody like KD and Luke is a little bit larger, I'm willing to take some of those savings there. But all in all, I think the build is close. I do think Walker Kessler is still okay. Charlotte struggled inside all season. Walker Kessler at 5,100. I think those are all pieces that you can use, but I think you're still going to build around those main guys: Garland, Keontae George, Mobley. Once again, I really like Marvin Bagley today for what it's worth. I know he's facing Jokic at 5,300 though. I think he's a really good play. And then last but not least, I think you can play CJ and Zion, but you may not be able to get them both depending on how your construction is. But both of those guys are viable. So because of the news, we've ended up with a plethora of players that are cash players today, which is something we didn't necessarily anticipate right before the show. So if you've got those guys, I think you find a way to make it work, and nothing more handy than Lineup HQ or our Sim Labs. You hit that button, it'll tell you pretty close to what you need to do out of that grouping.
Yeah, very nice. Okay, I love it. We did get a few more questions come in, and I will get to those in a bit. But first, let's get Squirrel's take on DK. And yes, I want you to go position by position, but also maybe tell me some of the spots that you're running a game stack or fading, anything that's interesting and a little different.
Yeah. So, I'll just kind of highlight some of the differences between FanDuel and DraftKings prices. Sure. I think one thing that's a big difference between the sites is that Jokic is a better play on DraftKings, I think, than on FanDuel.
Oh, yeah.
So that's going to affect your whole lineup. Also, like Darius Garland and Evan Mobley are much better priced on DraftKings, but it almost doesn't matter at this point because they were really in play anyway. But now they're just super duper in play. Keontae George is 4,700. DraftKings really fell asleep at the wheel with their pricing. Trey Mann is somebody that might get a little bit lost with everybody flocking to Darius Garland, and two other guys like Andrew Nemhard and Luka. Luka is not somebody I was really getting to on FanDuel, but I think you can get up to him on DraftKings. Shooting guard, I really like Benedict Mathurin. You play some RJ Barrett. I think that's he's better priced on DraftKings and on FanDuel. Same thing actually with his teammate Gary Trent, and actually TJ mentioned Grady Dick as a value play. So I think that's playing some of the Toronto guys. I think they're going to get overlooked. Small forward, I still like Jordan Clarkson on DraftKings. I like them on FanDuel as well. Somebody Denny Avdia for the Wizards. He's actually been rebounding a ton without Daniel Gafford. So, and I think that is something that might continue. He put up 71 game points the game before the break. That's probably an outlier, but they only raised his price 400. Power forward, he can be getting a ton of Evan Mobley and Zion Williamson. But I do think John Collins and Grant Williams, interesting tournament plays. Also, I think you can go to Aaron Gordon as I could pivot off of Jokic, just like you did on FanDuel. I mentioned that. Walker Kessler is much better priced on DraftKings than on FanDuel. And also getting some Miles Turner. I actually wrote up Miles Turner today, and I think he's getting lost. The Pacers have a really good matchup against Detroit, so I think it's worth not getting totally off of that.
Okay. Let's go back to the guards real fast because some of those are the chalkiest players, whether it's, Mathurin or let's see who else, Garland, Keontae George. What is your ownership on those guys? Are you just eating the chalk and saying all right, I'll come in 80, 90%?
So I don't have my exact ownership yet, but I do think it's going to be pretty high. I think certainly over 50% for Garland.
Okay. And are you worried that you're too chalky with your builds, or are you finding some of those random value pieces like a Grady Dick to try to mix it up?
So in the 150 set, I think you want to mix it up, but it's just hard because Garland was getting more and more minutes anyway, and then now Donovan Mitchell's out. So it's one of those things where the price was going down because he was coming getting slowly ramped back up from injury, and now Mitchell's out, so it makes him an even better value.
Mm-hmm. Okay, very good. We have 20 whopping minutes here until lock, which is quite a lot. Going to take some questions. I normally start in the RG Discord, but I just tried to pull up Discord for the first time since the NBA All-Star break, and there's nothing. It's just blank. And I don't mean no one's asking questions. I mean, I literally can't see Discord. So I'm going to be taking questions from the YouTube chat today. I always mix that in, but generally I start in the Discord. So if you're in the Discord, please do jump over to the YouTube just for today while I figure out what's up with Discord, and I will answer the questions there. Chief, is there anything you want to add? We still have oodles of time before we dive into these QQs for the next 15 plus minutes? I think you're muted.
I am muted. Don't really want to add anything. I think cash is pretty set. And I'm not one of those guys that hits like the optimize button, but I just, with all this value tonight and how the lineup construction is, sad to say, Roth, I think if you hit the button, like it's gonna lead you to a pretty neat path. And then, but that doesn't mean you have to take option one. You might be able to scroll down the lineup 20 and just, you might feel more comfortable with, Garland and this guy or that guy versus, the absolute top one. So, or I think if you might say, you know what, I feel way better about CJ and Zion than I do, this guy and that guy. You get what I'm saying? You just build around that. I think any of those options are going to lead you to extreme success. Since we got a little bit of time to kill, I did see my boy J3 ask, I bought my wife a new car, and he asked which car, I think he was asking which car did I buy. So she ended up with a BMW 535i, but because of her options, I had to get it shipped from New York, so I had to pay extra $1,000 to get it shipped. But that's what she ended up with. And I think I might have told them this story the last time. My wife was so particular about the car. When we were trying to narrow it down at the dealership, there were only like 4 cars in the country that like fit her criteria. So she had to get it shipped. And we laughed really hard about that. I was like, yeah, you're being very picky. How I ended up with you, I have no idea. I was
about to bring that in. Clearly, that's those good things about you. If she's that picky and you are the one that she chose. Kudos to you, the new whip for the fam. That's awesome.
It's her car.
Well, yeah, all right. Let's see what we got here. Let's dive into these questions. Scrolling up. Shout out to TJ for helping to pop some of these in the chat. Let's see what we got. Let's talk about Grant Williams. Squirrel, his name has been brought up a couple times. Where are you going to land on that? Like Derek in chat says, 5 out of my 5 lineups have Grant Williams.
That's a lot. I would. I think maybe like 1 out of those 5 is probably more along the lines of like where I'm going to land. Yeah, I just think there's been like a lot of value come up like at the power forward position with Zion, Evan Mobley, and Isaac Ford is also power forward eligible on DraftKings.
Okay, excellent. Any interest in my guy Herbert Jones? Squirrel, you got any Herb Jones?
I've got a little bit, but like he's not my favorite Pelican. Like I really like getting up to like Zion Williamson or CJ McCollum. Or if I'm going to go the value route, I prefer to go Finger.
Okay, is Herb Jones just in general a better FanDuel play because he's kind of a stocks guy, or am I wrong in that assumption?
Well, yeah, it depends on price, but it does seem like certain guys just don't seem to get priced up enough on certain sites, and that might be a thing with Herb Jones on FanDuel that's kind of free.
Yeah. Okay. We'll go to Darren here. This is a FanDuel question, and I will give this one to Chief. Bring him in here. Mobley or Allen on FanDuel? These are both names that have been brought up during the show.
Yeah, I'm gonna go Mobley.
Okay, great. Thoughts on Royce O'Neal, Chief? Got any Royce?
No, I don't think he's completely necessary.
Okay. We'll go to our guy Butthole in the chat. Says, why am I getting to Zubac tonight? For some reason, he's like my favorite dude to play. I never have a problem landing on Zubac. Squirrel, is he on your do not play list?
He's not on my do not play list, but I don't think I'm playing him tonight. Okay. I don't really have an answer for why. Like I'm just not getting to him.
Mm-hmm.
Like he doesn't always close, so I think that's a factor.
His range of outcomes is always pretty extraordinary. So it always is a little dicey, but also for a tournament, he can hit that ceiling. Let's see here. DK GPP question, Squirrel. Okoro and Zion, which seems maybe the chalkier, or Strus and Miles?
You've got to go Okoro and Zion.
Yeah. Okay. TJ pointing out there's almost 500 people watching and the likes got to go way up. He says, hit the damn like button. Not for me, but because we want to keep the show free for you into baseball season and into next season And FanDuel needs to know that we're getting eyeballs. So literally, you hitting the like button could keep the show free for you. Just, I'm not pressuring you. I'm just saying that might be a wise decision. What else do we have here? Our Squirrel and Chief on the board with Beer's pick of Austin Reeves over 17.5 points. Chief, I'll give that one to you, I suppose. Squirrel had a nod. Squirrel, you want to start?
I haven't looked at that game at all because it's not on the slate.
Oh, okay. Squirrel, any thoughts there? I know you're always deep in the prop shop.
Or Chief.
No, sorry, Chief. Yeah, that's what I meant to say.
It's
Chief.
all good. I don't hate it for what it's worth. Our projections have him around 22 points.
Oh.
And LeBron is out, so I don't mind that at all.
Yeah, that's a pretty big difference. All right, very nice. DK cash question, Chief. You want LeVert, Durant, and Mann, or Sexton, McCollum, and Jared Allen?
The first one.
Okay. DK cash question. Okay, we got that one here. FanDuel GPP. Squirrel, getting Zion in a lineup, but sacrificing Miles Turner, is that worth that pivot?
Yeah, I think so. I think you've got to go with Zion at this point. They're going to using him more as a ball distributor too, so I could his assist gone way up. So, yeah, I think you got to go. I really like Miles Turner earlier in the day. It's just and I'm still getting 20-something% of him on FanDuel, but getting much more Zion.
Yeah. All right. Shout out to producer Steve getting me some of these questions from the Discord here. What are your thoughts on playing both Allen and Mobley in FanDuel cash, or is that negative correlation? And as a general question that I'll add, do we care about negative correlation in cash, or is that only a tournament thought?
Yeah, no, I'm good with it. I think both of them are going to be just fine.
Okay, great. Steve, DKGPP question here. Thoughts on Joe Val? Oh, I love playing Joe Val in these spots. Or are the minutes too thin? Squirrel, did you get to any Joe Val?
Yeah, no, definitely getting some Joe Val. So, I'm getting a lot more of them on FanDuel, I think, than DraftKings. But I don't mind them as an interesting pivot on DraftKings.
Nice. Okay. Your favorite two value plays on FanDuel, Chief. Your favorite values on FanDuel. Keeping in mind that value does not necessarily have to mean dumpster dive, and it's value.
Yeah, probably going to be Keontae and Benedict Mathurin.
Okay, great. Craig says, hey, welcome back, fellas. Thank you. What are your thoughts on Buddy as a low owned, but some upside as some other guys near his price, even with Harris in? Squirrel, did you get to any Buddy?
I didn't get to any Buddy Hield. One of the issues is I think Kyle Lowry is going to be playing now for Philadelphia. So I think that's going to eat into his minutes. And they raised his price up a lot. It's interesting, some of the guys that did really well after the trade deadline before the break. They didn't raise their price, Buddy Hield did.
Gotcha. Okay. What else do we have? A specific question here. DK large field tournament from Mr. Irrelevant. He's got $6,900 left at shooting guard on DK. This is where a Buddy Hield might come into play, an RJ Barrett, maybe someone else, Squirrel.
Yeah, let's see, 6,900 for a shooting guard. It might take me 30 seconds.
We've got the time. You're good.
All right. Let's see, 69. Yeah, I would go RJ Barrett. I've got RJ Barrett a little bit ahead of Buddy Hield. I've actually got Sexton, who's only 6,200 ahead of Buddy Hield as well.
Okay, fair enough. What else do we have? FanDuel question. Chief, I'm coming to you. Mann, George, or LeVert?
Man, I really like Keontae George today. Yeah, I think I'm going to go Keontae. I like him a lot today.
Okay. Craig says, am I flipping the build with Turner versus Garland? It's an interesting question. Is that flipping the build, or are you just leaving too much by not playing Garland's? Squirrel?
Yeah, you want to play Darius Garland.
Yeah. Maybe both of them, but...
Yeah, they're not beating positions.
Right. But you do feel like you should have Garland in there. All right. Here's a good one. We're spending up FanDuel. Chief, I'll give this one to you. KD, Booker, or Kyrie?
Give me Booker.
Great. We'll go to Squirrel here. John says, Squirrel, I'm torn between leaving Luka in or taking him out so that I can have two centers, Kessler and Nick Richards, and then kind of spreading out the rest of that salary to just upgrade mid-range players instead of cheapies like Okoro and Fournier. Do you have a strong lean as to which way to go there?
Who is this? Sorry, who was he getting to instead of Luka? The first two names.
Like Kessler and Nick Richards. He's going two centers.
I don't love like Nick Richards. Like I don't know those are the centers I would go with. I might go with Luka.
Okay, all right. But the general idea you're cool with.
Yeah, I mean, I don't
Sorry.
think Luka's a must.
Yeah. Okay. On DK is spending up. We'll call this. It's chalky. We'll call this a GPP question, Squirrel. On DK is spending up on guards a pivot to the chalky ones and then go with discounted forward and center plays. Is that a contrarian build?
I think so. One thing. Well, yeah. So Luka's point guard only on DraftKings. So yeah, I think that's an interesting pivot, and I do think there's enough value still that you're not like going like absolute spreads.
Okay, great. I think someone's microphone is like in their keyboard. I don't know if we can try. I'm hearing some sort of interference or typing. FanDuel single entry. I'm going to give this one to Chief here. Trey Murphy versus Roth's bestie, Eric Gordon. It is true. We are best friends. If you missed the story, it's a fact. Who do you prefer? Trey Murphy or my best friend, Eric Gordon? Think wisely, is one of them is my best friend.
Well, I think I'm going to Trey Murphy here. I think he's got more upside than Gordon, even though Beal is out.
I talked to my bestie. He said he's dropping 30 tonight. So I'm just letting you know. Lots of centers tonight, but Gafford going forward should be getting starter minutes. He seems like a smash play at that salary. That's a good question. Squirrel, you get any Gafford?
I did not get any Daniel Gafford. I feel like they raised his price.
Yeah.
And like he had like an outlier game, his first game in Dallas. And like I like the spot, and like I think he'll be a good player for them, like in the playoffs, stuff like that. I think it's a great acquisition for them. I'm not like necessarily excited about like playing
the price ain't right. Okay, that's fair. FanDuel cash question. It's a 2v2. Chief Matherin, MPJ, or Herbie Jones and Grayson Allen?
Matherin, MPJ.
Great. FanDuel cash question. Right back to you here. Durant or Hallie?
Durant.
Excellent. Going to see if I'm getting a few more of these QQs in here. Oh yeah, we got oodles and oodles of them here. Hoosiers Hang Banner says, who's guarding Wemby tonight? Wait, have we gone this entire slate and not talked about Wemby? Is Wemby playing?
No,
he's not.
Well, he is playing, but the game isn't on the slate, so like we don't. There's no need for us to talk about it. Yeah.
I was gonna say, like, wait, I need to redo everything and jam in Wemby because that's what I do successfully every time he's.
Just want to be factual, you know. Okay. He is playing, but
okay, we don't know.
It's irrelevant.
Yeah, it's not on the slate, so we don't know. Nurk or Turner on FanDuel, Chief? Who do you prefer?
Turner.
Okay. FanDuel single entry question here. Squirrel, you want Mann, Ivy, Sexton, or Garland?
Oh, Garland.
Yeah, yeah. Garland's just kind of as close to a must as it comes. It seems like. Here we are. Oh, this is always a fun question here. A large field FanDuel GPP Squirrel. Any lineup HQ group rules on limiting specific higher owned players per lineup? Because I did mention I felt like your build had a lot of, and that's not like a criticism, but it has a lot of those chalkier guys because you feel it's good chalk.
Yeah, I think it's become really good chalk. I knew it's interesting because I didn't think it was going to be a good chalk tonight. I don't do that for NBA. I actually do that for sports like golf and MMA, like where it's really ownership dependent. Like especially in a situation like tonight where like the good plays aren't good plays because like of like injuries and stuff like that, and that they're like now just mispriced. I don't sell any ownership or something like that.
Okay, great, good answer. Laz has thoughts on RJ Barrett. Squirrel, you liked him. You kind of liked him.
I did. I like him. I feel like I'm getting a lot more of him on DraftKings and on FanDuel. But yeah, I do like him. I get maybe like a 10% thing, but
okay. Let's see here. Chief, coming to you with this one. Your favorite DK play under 4K?
Probably going to be Larry Nance. I think he's 3,900, if I'm not mistaken. That's probably where I would go.
Okay, excellent. FanDuel GPP, Matherin or Eric Gordon? FanDuel GPP, Squirrel.
I like Matherin.
Yeah. DK GPP, Gary Trent or TJ McConnell? Have we talked about playing TJ McConnell here? And is he going to get a little extra run or no?
Well, because Neesmith is out.
Right.
I think Matherin is the guy you want to go to, or like maybe Doug McDermott or like Obi Toppin. I don't think TJ McConnell is necessarily going to benefit from it.
Okay. All right. The question originally was Trent or McConnell.
Yeah, go Gary Trent.
Okay, great. Pirtle or Reed from I'm Bug? Squirrel, Pirtle or Reed?
I don't know what he's talking about, but I can go against.
Okay, great. Eric says, is Fournier punt-worthy? Is Fournier punt-worthy?
I think on DraftKings, you can use him as a punt. I've got like less than 5%, but it should be a high-scoring, fast-paced game.
Yeah, okay. What else do we got here? On a scale of 1 to 12, how excited is Roth about MLB coming back? Like a 7 for now, and then as it gets closer, I think that might drop some. As I realize,
Roth, that was the most concealing smile I think I've ever seen you show.
Yeah,
he's like,
yeah. I do enjoy it usually early in the season, and then it sets in that like this goes 6 months and it's every day, and it certainly turns into a grind. But I do enjoy it.
Training DFS starts on Friday, so got to get those weather reports.
Excuse me.
Spring training DFS starts on Friday.
Yeah, but like nobody's playing that, right? Nobody's a lunatic and playing that, right, Squirrel?
No, actually, I wasn't planning on. We'll see if I can get a good weather report. I don't know.
Damn it. Yeah. We'll see. You can twist my arm into that. CW says Hawkins or Merrill for a punt. Do we talk about Hawkins, Squirrel, Hawkins or Merrill for a punt?
I'd go with Sam Merrill. I do think like Hawkins is possibly in play now, but he's not. There's a lot of Falcons I like above Hawkins.
Okay. DK GPP question. I'm going to give this to Chief just because I feel like I've been leaving him out here. Benedict Fontec or Herb? Oh, probably Fontecchio. Benedict Fontecchio or Herb Jones?
I got to go Benedict, man. I can't avoid him in this spot against Detroit. I just can't.
Yeah. That's fair. All right. Let's see. FanDuel Cash, Garland or Sexton? Chief?
Garland.
Yeah. DK GPP last piece, Luka or Joker in a DK GPP?
I'd go Luka.
Yeah, at Luka, I feel like Luka's going to come in at lower ownership, right? Because that guard position has so much value. Whereas center, I just found myself like, well, I might as well plug in Joker here at center. Am I wrong in that?
Yeah, like there's $500 difference. So I just go. Like that's going to cause a lot of less people to have Luka. So if you have the money, I'd go Luka.
Right. I wish.
That's why I was mentioning earlier. Like I didn't feel as great about KD on DK. Like I know it's like a $2,000 gap, but like you can get the extra $2K and just play Luka or Jokic. So it's just way easier. Yeah.
All right. FanDuel Cash, John Collins or J Val straight up at center.
Going to go John Collins. Facing the Hornets, can't avoid it.
Very good. We're less than a minute until lock, by the way. Doing pretty good. Derek pointing out spring training only happens in 2 places. That's kind of true. That is 2 states, one of which it like never rains, so that's good in Arizona. But in Florida, it's like it's all over the state, kind of, isn't it?
I think it is.
Yeah, there's like Orlando, there's South Florida, there's like Tampa Bay area. I will probably knock out some of those forecasts. Yes. Hey, with that, we have hit the lock. So that's it. Anything we want to add or say?
Huh?
No, we feel good. We feel good about it.
I'm happy to be here.
Yeah, we're thrilled to be back talking some NBA here. Our guy Butthole Jenkins in the chat says Gary Trent Jr. breaking the slate. It is his Feel It in the Plums play of the day. Any of you guys on board with a little Gary Trent?
Yeah, I picked him over somebody. There was a question. I liked Gary Trent. I forget who the other guy was. But,
Okay.
I do. I actually like a little bit of Toronto tonight. Portland actually has a new coach, so maybe they play fast.
Okay, very nice. Hey, with that, we're going to bounce on out of here. So for Squirrel, for Chief, for our wonderful production crew, always working hard behind the scenes. Guys, we appreciate you. We love you. We will catch you tomorrow. You have been crunched.